Hana Quon. I'm a pastry chef in Boston and I work at Café Madeleine in the South End. So baking fulfills a lot of different passions for me. There's so many qualities in the act of baking that I strive for and seek in my personal life. Things like discipline, efficiency, love of aesthetic beauty. Baking pushes me to explore my curiosity and explore new things. It's also the way that I connect with others and serve others, which is really important to me. I also think baking exemplifies the process of constant change for me. So every day when you wake up and you're doing the same thing, the same routine, and working on your craft, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. You can't really say that you're staying the same. So that forces you to make the change. Like today, I'm going to be better than the person I was yesterday. As a maker, I feel that I see myself more rooted in sustaining and nurturing. Because my craft gets consumed every day, I feel like I'm contributing to the physical body of my audience. You are what you eat. And so it's amazing to be able to contribute to like everyone's energy or their life. I also think it's important that I'm feeding them whole ingredients that kind of go with the flow of the seasons, that tie us in with the earth, that tie us in with our location on earth. The thing that I love about pastry is that it allows me to be creative in a really controlled way. Because there's so many rules and all the techniques are really rule-based and you can't break any of those rules. So the part that I find very scientific about it is that you're able to identify very discrete variables and test each one out and see their individual impact. And to me, that can become very creative. So it's really hard to decide my favorite thing to bake, but I have to say my favorite thing to bake and also the most challenging is any of the viennoiserie, but I have a special love for the pain au chocolat. Pain au chocolat is a chocolate croissant, so it's croissant dough wrapped with 2 or 3 batons of chocolate, which are sticks of chocolate, and I just love the way the salt in the dough plays off the darkness of the chocolate, how all the crispy layers of the croissant dough kind of contrast with the melty chocolate inside, how the richness of the chocolate and the richness of the buttery dough kind of work perfectly together. And when you hold a pain au chocolat in your hand, it's so light, like a little cloud, and every bite is perfect. I think in the beginning of my career, I wasn't as focused on mastery of technique, to my detriment. I think a lot of young artists like myself, then we want to do something big and life-changing, and so we go for something that's too innovative and too outside of the box, and we don't concentrate on mastery of the technique, and we don't see how being restrained can really have an elegance that supersedes anything else. Mastery of the craft can be really a beautiful thing. So as I've gotten more mature in my career and as an artisan, I have really fallen in love with the slow grind of mastery of technique. Something really simple like a perfectly smooth creamy ganache or perfectly folding all the layers of a croissant that can bring a lot of joy to you visually as an artisan, but also there's so much beauty in that you don't need to do something crazy like have a wild flavor combo or a shape that no one's ever seen. Sometimes when you focus so much on being innovative, you actually move so far away from the art form itself. Pros of being in the culinary industry, which is that you can pretty much work anywhere at any time. And so I moved my whole life to Cape Cod, and a really amazing experience. It is where I met my mentor, Frederic Robert, or Fred as I call him, and he sent me to France in 2 consecutive winters. So the first winter he sent me to Paris, and that's where I went to École Bellouet, which is a French continuing education pastry school. And this was probably the hardest experience I've ever had. Going through something really hard or challenging can really help you grow as an artist, I think, because you're outside your comfort zone, you're seeing things through a different lens, and I think also you learn so much more from your failures. And sometimes when you're an artist and you're a perfectionist, or you're an artisan and you're a perfectionist, everything feels like a failure, that you forget that what a real failure feels like. Working in really high pressure situations and environments like the hotel and in France, it definitely taught me a standard, to have a very high standard. And that has probably been the most difficult thing to keep up with in my own kitchen, running my own kitchen, or working in any American kitchen. It's hard to say, hey, our standards should be even higher. Because it's hard to, as a leader, to make yourself the bad guy, to be like, this isn't good enough. And everyone asks you, like, but what is? When is it good enough? And you're like, well, when it reaches this standard. As I have been coming along in my career, it has been very interesting to be at the intersection of being classically French trained, but having a Korean and Chinese heritage, but also being Asian American, and very much so. When I was younger, I was definitely conditioned to believe the pervasive myth that white food or white cuisine is higher or more tasteful in a lot of ways, and that Asian food or Asian flavors are exotic or only brought out when you want to be like crazy and they're not normal flavors, or that no one wants to eat that. It's been interesting now having the toolbox that I have with all the techniques, that I can revisit those old familiar flavors from my childhood and still stay true to all the French techniques, and kind of show that those flavors can be elevated, that they can have the same status as all the French ingredients. And I think I'm uniquely situated in between both cuisines to be able to have the knowledge to execute that. One item that I'm working on right now, that I have been working on for a little bit of time, is my egg Danish. It is a diamond shape, and it's croissant dough, and it has 3 fillings in it. The bottom one is a 9-hour slow roasted tomato jam that contains anchovies and gochujang. Gochujang is a traditional Korean red pepper paste that I grew up with. Gochujang and anchovies are pretty much the base to most Korean dishes. This is an item that at the beginning of my career I would have never attempted, mostly because I'm classically French trained, and the French really don't like innovation of any kind, and anytime you change even like the smallest thing, you're in danger of being called inauthentic, and that's kind of the worst thing that you can be called, especially if you're not actually French like me. Then that's like a constant danger, and it will take away your credibility and the authenticity of all your hard work. As I've matured in my career, I've found that it's really important to express who I am through the pastries, and also I've learned more about the rules. And when you learn all the rules, then you can start learning how to break some of them very, very cautiously. One of the things I love about baking is that it's so rewarding. You push through the process and it's really rewarding. You get a delicious end result, and even sometimes the mistakes are delicious. The advice I would have for bakers at home is definitely don't give up. I know it can be really frustrating. I firsthand have experienced, doing a recipe over and over, and it should be one way, but it's just not working, and you don't know why, and you have so many questions, and each question leads to more questions, and you just want to give up, but definitely don't give up. So people can follow me on Instagram. I'm very active. My handle is at Hana Quon. I love posting pictures of my work, not just to work on my photography skills, but also just showing where I am in that mastery of technique, honing old basics constantly, also working on new items that are fun and fresh. You get to see the changing of the seasons. So coming up, my Instagram will probably be like a lot of reds and pinks, and sometimes I post other food too, snacks that I'm working on that have nothing to do with French patisserie, because sometimes we all need a break from French food. And the best way to try the food is to come into the cafe. We're located at 517 Columbus Avenue in the south end of Boston, and we're open every day.